concerns, construction, remodeling, lot lines and such, and small businesses or whatever. And it would seem to me a shame to eliminate right at the very start the people who are pro or con a landfill. That's my opinion.
But we didn't say that. The law says that. We didn't say that.
Well, through Joe.
The attorney
Joe
said
stated that tonight, so.
Yeah, there's an RSA.
Right, well, wherever that came from.
The state.
It says you can't, well, that's only one, but that's only one issue that may come before that board, you know, and they can recuse themselves. That's my point. And is it an RSA, or
Yes.
is it the
No, it's an
lawyer's
RSA.
opinion?
It's an
What,
RSA.
could you read that for me, please?
Yeah.
As provided in RSA 673-14, a member of a ZBA would be required to recuse himself if he is prejudiced to any degree regarding the case. RSA 500-A12-1F. Since the expected Casella application will be the principal job of the Dalton ZBA, prudence dictates the member should not have expressed a prior public opinion on the merits of the landfill proposal.
Okay, the RSA states they can recuse, you can place them, they can, or would be expected to recuse themselves. It's the lawyer's interpretation that it would be wise not to have them. So it's really up to you. You know, the law does not say you cannot.
Right, but I think it is something we should take into account so that
Absolutely,
we don't have
but
a,
here's the
five-member
other,
board that we're recusing 5 members, so,
here's the other point though.
yes.
Also with the RSA, however, any issue that comes to the zoning board, a member who is on that zoning board, if they have a problem with it, such as a lot line that affects them, will also have to recuse themselves.
Correct.
So even though they are targeting that it is, yes, people against the landfill, you know, it is inclusive of all of the zoning board things that somebody may have an exception with. So I don't know, yes, the landfill has been a point of focus, and yes, it can be used as an example. However, I don't think it should be overlooked that anybody on the zoning board could possibly have to recuse themselves from just about anything that the zoning board does, if it personally affects them.
That's correct.
Okay.
I also think if we go back to the special meeting, it wasn't supposed to be about the landfill, it was about zoning.
Right.
So I think we need to stay with that theme. It's not supposed to be about the landfill or Casella, it was supposed to be about zoning only.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that rule was, which a lot of people broke in that meeting, but I think that's something we have to continuously go with. It's not about Casella, it's about the zoning for the town.
That's my point.
I
Well-
100% agree with that.
Perfect example is Kevin Roy works for Casella and he's on the Bethlehem Planning Board. So when a Casella issue comes up, he recuses himself. And I've put in my name for the zoning board, and I really do take offense that you're trying to exclude me based on that. I've been to every planning board and every select board meeting, more so than probably anybody in this room, other than someone who's a member. And you singling me out,
I don't think I
You
singled anybody out.
well, you're reading into that, what that letter said and the RSA said, and I think it's inaccurate.
It seems to me that that's why it would be helpful if you had a list of human characteristics that have nothing to do with the pro and the con on the last vote, to help you with your choice. Character kinds of things, the sorts of things that Terry was mentioning. I don't know, I mean, it strikes me this is a person that has to be able to listen
Yeah.
and to evaluate information. And, I mean, just think about what you would want if you had something coming before this
Right,
board.
Right.
And what kind of a person would you want to have to listen to it? And
Yeah,
then
that pretty
those,
much says that on,
you
if you
know,
go on the municipality and
And
read the zoning thing, you should
those
have
are
to
the
be
characteristics
open-minded.
you'll need to look for, Carol, when you're choosing the 5 and maybe the 2 alternates. And then, of course, it's gonna turn over, you know,
Yeah.
after 1 year, what'd you say,
Yes.
1 will go off and then however that rotation system was.
And the other thing is, I would believe that if there were any legal questions, that zoning board would have the right to talk to town legal counsel.
Yes, anybody who's elected,
So
yes.
that would be, you know,
Now, do we pick the alternates, or we pick the zoning board and they pick the alternates?
That is a good I mean,
Yeah.
we picked the zoning board.
Right.
I mean, they could, like with the planning board, they propose the alternate,
Yeah,
and then we actually appoint them. So we could have the same thing with the zoning board in terms of the alternates, I believe. You have to verify that.
yeah,
So we could focus on, you know, the
The
five
five,
primary,
yes.
and then the zoning board could, because the zoning board has to elect their chair and
Yes.
develop their procedures.
So are you saying that you would select 7 people and then they would decide who the 2 alternates are?
No, we would
No.
select 5, and then if they wanted to select alternates, they would select them and then bring them to the select
Bring them
board.
to you guys?
yeah,
Right,
maybe
your
after a
point.
few meetings or something, and they could see who they could work with or something, then they could appoint, they could ask, you know.
Because if you're on the planning board, you have to come before you for it to be interviewed.
Yes,
And so, I mean, I'm assuming that would be the same. I mean, I got interviewed 2 or 3 times in the course of my years on the planning board.
Mhm.
And that was a part of the process. It wasn't
Okay.
automatic.
Yeah. And I think that's why we want to look at reviewing the applications at the next meeting, and then if we want to interview people, we can do
we could
it
ask them to come, yeah.
to come at the following meeting, at the 9th, rather than rushing through the process.
I think you're gonna have a hard time finding 5 qualified applicants that have not publicly expressed their interest in either way for this
Well,
land
we have quite a
forward.
few,
we do.
sort of like, not a yes or a no, I mean, I'm not saying they want or didn't want, but they didn't publicly blow up at anybody or anything, so.
Oh,
We
yeah,
have
but
quite, we got
still,
quite a few
though,
people.
yeah, I think you're still gonna, you know, Casella's probably gonna have, you know, a lot of recon on this stuff. You know, a sign on your lawn or whatever.
Well, they did videotape the public hearing
Okay.
without anyone knowing at the
Oh,
public hearing, they were
okay.
recording, so they have that. They're not stupid.
Yeah, so I think that could backfire on the zoning board or.
Well, I think that we should look into, are you doing that class on Wednesday?
Yes.
I am. I think that will help us come up with some really good, are you doing it?
No, I haven't done somewhere now.
Some questions that, and what about other towns?
Well, yeah,
are
what do
their-
other towns do?
And how do they select their, that's a good point.
I mean,
I
you
could
could
call
ask
a
if
couple
they,
of the
Yeah.
close towns,
Mhm.
I talk to them all day, so.
Okay. So in terms of some of the criteria that we're looking at, we're looking at somebody who can listen, who can evaluate information, be open-minded. What are some of the other characteristics that we're looking for?
I think they have to be able to research legal stuff. I mean, there are gonna be questions whether you can say no or not say no.
Understand
Some of
maps
the-
and terminology
Yeah.
and zoning terminology.
Now, they also have to have a minute taker too, don't they? Like someone take minutes at their meetings?
Probably,
Yes.
that would be-
They would have a secretary. Called a secretary.
There aren't very many people in town that have much of a background in zoning. We've never had it before. There were about, Anna, 5 of us, 10 of, I can't remember how many, about 10 years ago, who studied zoning for about a year.
And they tried to pass it
And
through,
we
yeah.
got, it eventually bogged down, but those of us that did that know a lot about the zoning.
Yeah.
Towns all
But it
over
didn't
the
go,
state.
they didn't have it timed right or
And
something.
we didn't
it
never
didn't get-
we never developed
made the
anything
meeting,
for Dalton.
no, no.
We got to the point when we realized we didn't think anything would pass in Dalton, and it just died.
Yeah.
But there are some people who have spent some time on it, should they
Mhm.
choose to wanna come forward now.
Yeah.
Are they too frustrated to come forward, do you think? I would hope not.
Some probably are.
Could relieve some.
Terry, other criteria that you would suggest in your planning board experience?
Well, it might be helpful to understand maps. I mean,
Yep.
that's the reason that,
Understand maps.
that's the reason that one of the former selectmen asked me about it, to join the planning board, because she knew that I worked with maps, and in my job.
Mhm.
Speaking of maps, did we ever find anybody to redo our maps?
I don't know, you'll have to ask Jesse probably.
Yeah, that was something else we were supposed to do.
I think it's, yeah, it's on my,
Oh, it's on your to-do list.
it's on my to-do list, but I thought it would, we have so many things right now.
I
that-
know.
So one criteria you may look at professional background.
Mhm. That's a good criteria.
Yeah, I mean, if somebody's an engineer, or,
Yeah,
you know.
I think we did have some that were engineers.
Former real estate brokers, things like that.
Yeah.
No real estate law.
Yeah.
Might be helpful.
Okay. So, do we need a motion to proceed this way in terms of the selection?
No.
Just
Yeah.
consensus, okay. The other thing in terms of the emergency special zoning is that the planning board has already discussed starting the process of coming up with Dalton-specific zoning. And so I know they're meeting again in 2 weeks instead of going a month. Do you want to provide a summary, Terry? I'm kind of catching on the stop.
Well, all we can say is that we had actually started late last fall, working again towards a zoning ordinance, to bring it forth to the last March town meeting. But we ended up running out of time because the state requires certain amounts of posting notices, having hearings and so forth before it gets onto a town warrant. So we missed the deadline, barely, but we missed it. And then everything happened with the Casella issue. But I think that knowing now that this vote was close to accept the zoning, that we can go ahead and rethink of, what we've already come up with. And if the town has already accepted this zoning in general, I know not everybody did, but overall it was accepted. So I think that we wanna start with that and maybe not build much at all into it. But maybe tailor it a little bit according to what we may have already been living with planning board regulations. But we have yet to discuss it,
Mhm.
so.
And there was talk about trying to have an inclusive process to reach out to the town. I believe one of the-
Businesses and, one thing we maybe didn't discuss was that some businesses are not residents of town, but we may wanna get a little bit of input, I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, we were thinking of coming up with a questionnaire of some sort to ask perhaps businesses, different things. Maybe it would be a multiple choice type of questionnaire, or, on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel about this? So we can get some input to help guide us along and do a more Dalton appropriate zoning.
As I recall from the meeting, and so correct me if I'm interpreting it wrong, one of the concerns was to make sure that we have a lot of small businesses in Dalton, people who have a business in their garage or on their property, and how do we define that, so that's not just quote-unquote grandfathered in, but that's allowed? So if somebody else wanted to start a, similar small business, what are the parameters around that?
Oh, you mean a new one coming in?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
yeah,
Or if somebody, sells their property in their business. and
right, right.
To make sure, to have a better understanding of what the community wants in terms of, what is a small business versus, when it grows. And I think the example is, Ben and Jerry's Ice Cream started as a really small business, and then now it's, a big corporation. But, what are kind of transition points that can be identified?
Is the target date to have something for next March's meeting, or a year from next March?
I think we were thinking of this coming March.
We're gonna shoot for March,
Yeah,
okay.
that's why we decided maybe we'll have meetings every couple weeks
Yeah.
and see how things go and how it progresses and so.
I didn't know whether it might even turn out, Terry, to be a two-step process. I don't quite know what I'm saying there, but it's gonna get more complicated as you get down into it.
Probably. I do think that we will rely quite a bit on the master plan,
Yeah,
because the master plan right now is current to 2011. That was way before any thoughts of big industry coming into town. But yet, when you read the master plan, it's really trying to show that people wanna have kind of what we have now, the small businesses, rural character, cultural, environmental, things that we have, without big change.
And the master plan was accepted by the town,
Yes.
which is a good
Yes.
thing too.
Yeah, and it's been similar, I think, throughout the years as the master plan gets updated every so many years. I think maybe things get reworded a little bit, but I do think that the surveys that do come back from the planning board or the master plan committee, when they send it out to the residents, there's not a big amount of people that respond, but those that do, I think it's been pretty consistent.
Terry, if I may, it's wonderful that the planning board is really getting on top of the zoning issues, and coordinating with the master plan. Will there be input from the ZBA when they get their feet under them, or is the planning board responsible for setting all those things and then the ZBA acts upon them? Where does the ZBA fit in?
The planning board will come up with a zoning ordinance, and then it goes to the public, the town, to vote.
Okay.
And if the town approves it, or whether it gets amended or anything, changed, if it is approved, then the ZBA they would be taking care of the appeals. If somebody comes in and says, this isn't gonna conform to what the new zoning is, so it's like, all right, apparently they have to go to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay, so the ZBA, am I understanding this correctly, has nothing to do with creating the zoning rules?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Mhm.
Just one quick, so am I to understand that we will be sticking with the master plan, which actually encourages home businesses and
Yeah,
being
that-
self-productive,
it
as long
seems
as it
to,
doesn't interfere with the neighbors?
Mhm, yeah.
Okay, all right, that's good. I like the master plan, so,
Yeah, we have a really good
it's a
planning
really
board.
good master plan.
We have a really good planning board too. They know their stuff.
I can't believe we didn't even review that since 2011. It just feels like I did it more so than
Any other business? We do?
So do you think it would be okay if people sent in some kind of question or what they would see on a zoning board member without getting carried away, like a few suggestions from, do you think that would be okay, not okay?
So I'm just trying to think of time and process and things, if we're gonna try to get something on, up on the website and summarize it.
That's enough, you know, what you see.
I make a motion that we go into non-public session to discuss, some legal and personnel issues.
I second it.
All in favor?
Okay.
Do you want us to? I don't know that we have any other business, but we can go into another.
Are you coming back into public session?
We
Do
have
you
to
have any
go-
other business?
We have to
We have to, we're out.
formally come into, back into a public session, but
Do you have any other
we
business?
don't have any other business.